Every growing company eventually hits a strange paradox. The leader who built the company suddenly becomes the very thing slowing it down. Not because they are incompetent, not because they lack vision, not because the team is weak, but because growth quietly changes the role of the leadership. And the leader doesn't change with it, the organization begins to stall. Today I'm going to show you why leaders become the bottleneck in growing companies. And more importantly, how to fix it before it starts suffocating your growth. And the most surprising part, the problem usually isn't leadership ability, it is execution architecture. Most companies are built around a founder or a strong leader. In the beginning, that works beautifully. The leader decides quickly. The team moves very fast. Communication is direct. The organization feels agile. But as the company grows, something subtle happens. Decisions that used to take 5 minutes now require clarification, alignment, coordination, accountability. Suddenly, people start saying things like, let's ask the boss. We should wait for leadership. This needs approval. And without realizing it, the leader becomes the center of gravity for every decision. The leader becomes the center of gravity for every decision. Now, imagine an airport with one runway, just one. No matter how many planes arrive, they all have to wait in line. That runway is the leader. That runway is the leader. Here is why most organizations misdiagnose the problem. They think we need better processes. So they create more meetings, more approvals, more reports, more policies. But here is the truth. It is the truth that most organizations miss. Execution problems are rarely process problems. They are alignment problems. If people don't understand, one, how decisions are made, two, what priorities matter most, three, who owns what, then every decision moves upward, straight to the leader. And suddenly, the leader's calendar looks like a traffic jam. If you are that leader. So many leaders unintentionally reinforce this problem because early success trained them to believe that if something is important, I should be involved. And that works until it doesn't. At some point, the leader becomes what I call the hero leader. They solve problems, they unlock teams, they unblock issues that are stuck, they make final decisions, and everyone admires them for it. But here is the uncomfortable truth. Hero leadership scales effort, not execution. If the company can only move when the leader intervenes, then growth eventually stalls. Think about it like this. Imagine trying to run a hospital where every medical decision requires the hospital director. The hospital wouldn't scale. It actually would collapse. Yet, that is exactly how many organizations operate. The real issue isn't leadership. It isn't. It is decision architecture. Growing organization must answer these following questions very clearly. 1. Who decides? Number 2. What takes priority? Number 3. Who is accountable? When these three questions are unclear, people escalate decisions upward. Not because they are incapable, no, but because the system forces them to do so. So the leader becomes the decision maker, the referee, the translator, the problem solver, all at the same time, which is impossible to scale. There is the scene in many action movies where the entire mission depends on one person, just one. If that person fails, everything collapses. Everything collapses, goes down. That is great for movies, but terrible for organizations, because real organizations need distributed intelligence. Think about the championship sports teams. The coach doesn't run into the field to play every position. No, they don't. Instead, they build a system where players understand the strategy, the roles, the signals. So decisions happen in real time on the field. That is how high-performing organizations operate. Not through heroic leadership, but through aligned execution. Not through heroic leadership, but through aligned execution. This is where most organizations struggle. Different departments operate with different mental models. Sales give priority to revenue. Operations give priority to efficiency. Finance gives priority to costs. Leadership gives priority to strategy. And without alignment, each group pulls in a slightly different direction. The leader then becomes the interpreter between competing priorities, which means every major decision must pass through them. And slowly, the leader becomes the bottleneck, not because they want, but because the organization depends on them to reconcile everything. Everything has to go to the leader's desk for decision making. The solution isn't adding more structure, and it isn't in hiring more managers. The real solution is alignment architecture. Growing companies must build systems where, 1, priorities are universally understood. Number 2, decision boundaries are clear. Number 3, accountability is visible. When this happens, something powerful changes. People stop asking, what does the leader want? And they start asking, what does the system require? That shift alone removes enormous pressure from leadership, because the organization no longer depends on the leader to interpret everything. No, they don't. They already know what to do. The best leaders eventually make a difficult transition. They stop being the chief decision maker and become the architect of decision systems. They design environments where teams know how to decide, priorities stay aligned, accountability becomes natural. When that happens, decision accelerates, and the leader finally escapes the bottleneck. So if your company feels the growth is slowing, ask yourself one question, just one. leadership the problem, or is the system forcing leadership to carry everything? Everything. Because when decision making, priorities, and accountability become aligned, execution stops depending on the leader. Execution stops depending on the leader, and the organization finally becomes capable of scaling. The organization finally becomes capable of scaling. If this video helped you rethink leadership and execution, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone building or leading a growing organization. Because the future leadership isn't about doing more. No. The future leadership isn't about doing more. It's about designing organizations that execute without depending on you.